Last time I brought it up, I hadn't finished the book. I'd only read about a third of it, and now I've breezed through it and I'm onto something completely new. On the whole, good book. How did I describe it last time? Team of Jedi who are pulled away from Coruscant for various different reasons. Um, One, Padawan Reef Silas's master is appointed to the Starlight Beacon, which is this new space station on the frontier, and he's dragged away in that direction, really against his will, because he's sort of like a bookworm Jedi. And then you've got several others who act as various points of view. One is an Umbaran with these like Ahsoka style lightsabers. And she's looking to get away because she wants to become something called a way seeker, which is basically she's felt this calling in the force that she's meant to go solo and do these solo crazy adventures on her own to find new purpose in her life. So she's got that going on. This Silver Jedi who wants to return to the frontier to confront his inner demons about a past trauma. They hook up with these two smuggler type characters who are quite unique. That they have a co-pilot who is literally a rock. They all find themselves on this abandoned space station, or seemingly abandoned space station, once the great hyperspace disaster happens. Obviously, it out with the hyperspace lanes, so they all get diverted off course and end up on this space station, which the Jedi feel is corrupted with this pure, insipid darkness. Plus, the station is infested by plants and trees and weird stuff. They come across these totems, these like ancient Indian totems or whatever to give you reference. And they think, the dark side must be coming from these, because whenever we're near them, we start having fits and stuff. Well, okay, let's collect these babies up and let's get the hell out of here. We go back to Coruscant and we take it down to the Sith shrine that's below the temple. And then they're like, funny, we can't feel anything now. Maybe these weren't exuding that darkness. They were containment devices. We've unleashed something back on that station. We better go back. Meanwhile, while they were on the station, there were all these other parties trapped there as well because of the disaster. And it turns out that some of the people trapped there were actually Nile, who were the big bads of the entire High Republic, the Space Vikings. And Padawan Reef realizes that while he was on the station, he got a bit friendly with one of them and started talking about Jedi and what they're all about, kind of like their system of working. And he realizes, I've just given the Nile really top secret information about how we operate that they can use against us. Well, guess we got to go back and kill them. So everybody ends up going back for completely different reasons. The smugglers, they realize that the station is actually part of their guild and it's being used for black market operations. And they're like, well, we've got to go back and try and prove the innocence of the head of our company. So everybody goes back, ironically enough, for their own different reasons. And they find out there that these totems were used to contain the Drengir, who are those sentient plant things that I described last time, who exude the dark side. So much so that even the Sith feared them. It was the Sith that actually set up these totems to trap them in the first place.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Everything starts going crazy. The Drengir, during the first visit, there was also this other knight with the group who is presumed dead when, like a Scooby-Doo kind of revolving door situation happens. But he ends up in a hyperspace pod that takes him to where a lot of the Drengir are currently stationed. There's some on the station trapped, but there's others on their home planet. That's where he gets sent. They find him, they bring him back, but that brings back all the hordes onto the station, coupled with the ones that were already there, coupled with a fresh batch of Nile that come along, in search of the two that were marooned there earlier. And so you get this situation where you've got Jedi, Nile, and Drengir all fighting against each other. Utter chaos. They purge it. They do a mass airlock bust and they purge everything out into space.
Yeah. Vent it all out.
Yeah. Reef gets assigned to one of the other masters in the team, and they go to Starlight. All of the Umbarum goes off on her way seeking business. And that's kind of where we leave off with it.
Does it leave any sort of hints, or does it tail end into any of the next stages of the High Republic story, or does it just contain itself within itself?
It certainly moves past like the Jedi. Reef's master, who was appointed to Starlight, was killed in Light of the Jedi. You get to experience that. And then about halfway through Into the Dark, when they've returned to Coruscant, he's brought they arrive at the same time that loads of evacuees are coming back for treatment, and they go to hospital, and it's like, suddenly I've got this really queasy feeling. Does anybody know anything about Master Jorah Malley? She was, out there in the frontier. Has anybody heard anything? Oh yeah, she's dead, by the way. What? She's dead? Oh gosh, got to spend about 5 chapters really depressed and trying to contemplate how you can cross this Kyber arch alone. I imagine all the characters will turn up again, but it is quite self-contained, I suppose.
Yeah, to me that sort of sounds like how the finale of Clone Wars is in relation to, say, Revenge of the Sith. Like, it sort of is its own thing, but it runs parallel and intersects with it at certain points. Like,
I mean, that's the point of the entire High Republic mass media thing. All the stories are going to do that.
Oh, okay, fair dues. Yeah, nice one. Bradley, what were you going to say?
Does the book explain why the ship carrying the plants is there? Like, because the Sith contained it. So I imagine, the Sith, like, this was relatively recently, or like, was
hundreds of years ago.
So it's kind of like Sith were on it, they just died off or left it, and it's just been floating through space ever since. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Oh.
Yeah. And what's the word you used earlier? Wayfinder?
Wayseeker.
Is that a new thing to Star Wars? That doesn't sound familiar. Like a calling to leave the Jedi Order and do your own thing. Sounds like something the Jedi Order would be like, yeah, don't listen to that. That's not a good feeling.
We barely let you have feelings at all, so why would we let you leave?
Well, that's interesting you bring that up. So one of the other Jedi in that team, part of his thing is like, well, why can't we feel emotions? Why does the Order tell us to snuff this down? Why can't we be free to feel grief and loss and pain? Why can't we? And we don't exactly leave him in a place of resolution about that. He's still very much harboring those ideals. What repercussions that will have for him later down the line, I don't know, but it's quite interesting. And what Claudia Gray seems to do really well with all the books she writes is really get into the heads of all of her protagonists. Like in Master and Apprentice, you get such great insight into Qui-Gon. In this, you get such great insight into Orla and into Reef and into all of them. Because there's about 4 different point of view characters in this. Okay, and then like in Bloodline, Leia a lot, so you get a lot of insight. Anyway, so a Wayseeker was a title of the Jedi Order that signified a Jedi who wished to operate independently of the High Council and its dictates. Wayseekers have been known to undergo solitary meditation on mountaintops and assist revolutionaries against planetary tyrants.
Okay. That seems like especially something that, say, it doesn't seem like there'd be a lot of Wayseekers, say, in like the Clone Wars era, especially given the High Council that was in charge at that point. Like, that sounds like something they wouldn't want.
Yeah.
Definitely not. No.
Although the closest one that comes to mind in that sort of regard is maybe Quinlan Voss. But like,
But even he was answerable to the council because
Yeah.
they ordered him to team up with Ventress to assassinate Dooku.
they did, yeah.
Maybe Qui-Gon then. But he was still. He seemed to still show respect towards the council. But
I mean, spoilers for Master and Apprentice. The whole shtick about that book is that they offer him a seat on the council.
yeah.
Well, and even in like Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan says, if you weren't so arrogant or rebellious or whatever, you'd have a seat by now. And it's like, well, yeah, whether he'd
This is explicitly when a Jedi feels like they have to walk away from everything and do their own thing.
Okay.
That's really interesting, I guess.
Ooh.
You know, like.
And like I said earlier, a common theme with Claudia's books, at least for me, they take a little while for me to get into the groove. I remember Lost Stars was a bit like that to begin with, and then I can't remember at what point it was, but suddenly everything clicked and I really started enjoying it. And with this, it really wasn't until everybody got back to Coruscant and discovered what had been happening in the other book where I was like, yes, okay, now I'm with it.
Yeah.
Bit of slow burners.
A little bit, yeah. It took about half the book.
Wow. That's a very slow burn.
But when you're in it, though,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
But that might just be.
Yeah, exactly. It's subjective.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Anthony would absolutely be wetting himself for just the entire book itself.
I would still recommend it because, again, Claudia Gray is one of the best writers on the whole, and like the character work in it is exceptional.
I'd probably wet myself at the Master and Apprentice one because that one's got Qui-Gon in it. So
there you are. How does it stand with the first High Republic book?
I think Light of the Jedi is better, but again, it's a subjective thing because its scale and scope is a lot bigger, so it's a lot more action-packed. Whilst this one is a bit more of a more personal affair, which is still good. But your expectations are kind of coloured a bit by that first one with how epic in scope it is.